Today, I want to show you a routine that directly supports sense making with story problems. ThreeReads. ThreeReads comes out of the math language routine from the Scale project at Stanford University. It was originally designed to support multilingual learners, but we've learned over time that this routine is powerful for all students because it structures how students attend to the situation before they attend to the numbers. ThreeReads is not about slowing kids down for the sake of slowing them down. And it's not about giving them another set of steps to memorize. It's a routine designed to separate three different kinds of thinking that often get mixed together too quickly: understanding the situation, attending to quantities, and deciding on a strategy. When those happen all at once, students default to keywords or procedures. When we separate them, students start reasoning. On the first read, the focus is entirely on the context. The only question we're asking students is, what is this story about? Not what operation is this, or how do we solve it? In fact, you may want to leave the question off completely on the first read to prevent students from jumping too quickly to computation. This is directly aligned to 208.1, which asks students to interpret situations, join, separate, and compare, not to label operations. Sometimes I phrase this as, if this story were a movie, what would the title be? In this story from Monday's Math Standard Monday video, students might suggest titles like Raina's Money, Raina and Her Sister, or Two Sisters, Two Amounts. Notice none of these are operations. They're about the relationship in the story. On the second read, we now attend to the numbers. The question shifts to what quantities can be counted or measured. This is where students begin to reason about start, change, and result, or who has more and who has less, but still without deciding how to solve. In this story, the key quantities include Raina's amount of money, how much more money Raina has than her sister, Raina's sister's amount of money, and how much money they have together. At this point, we're identifying quantities and relationships, not choosing an operation or a strategy. Only on the third read, we finally ask, what are the different strategies we can use to solve the problem? And this is where something important happens. Because students have already made sense of the situation and identified the quantities, they often choose different strategies, counting on, counting back, using subtraction, not because a keyword told them what to do, but because the situation did. At this point, strategies are a response to understanding, not a guess based on a word. ThreeReads is not something we do to students. It's a structure we use to teach students how to make sense of story problems independently. At first, the teacher does most of the work, modeling the questions, thinking aloud about the situation, and naming the quantities. Then we co-construct the thinking with students. And over time, we gradually release the process so students learn to carry these questions for themselves. The goal is not better routines. The goal is independent sense makers. This is where gradual release really begins. At first, you are very explicit. You ask the read 1, read 2, and read 3 questions. You model how to attend to the situation, and you intentionally delay strategies. But over time, students begin to take over that work. They start to ask themselves what is happening in the story, identify what is known and what is unknown, and choose strategies based on the situation. At that point, sense making is no longer something that the teacher initiates every time. It becomes a student habit. This is where tools can be very helpful. A graphic organizer doesn't replace thinking. It makes the thinking visible while students are learning the process. And if this is helpful, you can grab a copy of this organizer using the link in the video description. It can help students separate the situation from the numbers, keep track of what is known and what is unknown, and organize their thinking across the 3 reads. But the organizer is not the goal. The goal is that over time, students no longer need it because the questions and the structure have become internal. That's what transfer looks like. ThreeReads works best when we gradually release the questions to students so that they learn to structure their own sense making, not just follow a routine. Because the goal isn't students who can follow routines. The goal is students who can make sense of story problems.